Real quick, I'll run through their schedule. They host Long Island, South Florida to start the season. Then they have to travel to LSU and to Miami. Then they get a bye week. Then they host Texas. They got to go to Texas A&M. Then they host Mississippi State, and then they get into their other bye week. Coming out of that bye week, they play in Jacksonville against Georgia. Then they go to Kentucky, to Ole Miss, and they finish the season by hosting Tennessee and hosting Florida State. Now, last year, going into the season, Florida potentially had one of the hardest schedules in the history of football. As it turned out, Florida State was terrible last year. And so that eased it a little bit. Miami ended up being Miami. And the schedule was not as difficult as once thought. Rustin, when you look at this schedule, what record do you see here?
6-6.
What? Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I still think it's an incredibly difficult schedule, and it's all about DJ Lagway. And
that's true.
If DJ Lagway gets hurt, it's a 3-7 season. Because there's nobody behind him.
Yeah, it is totally dependent upon Lagway. That's for sure.
Again, I think home field advantage is going to be really, really important this year. So I've got them winning the first two, then losing at LSU. I think they can beat Miami, so that's 3-1. But I don't think they have the firepower to stick with Texas. I think Texas will whip them. So that's 3-2. Then they have to go into Kyle Allen Field, which is a very difficult place to play. And Mike Elko is one of the best defensive minds in the entire country. So if anybody's going to shut down DJ Lagway, it's Mike Elko. So I've got them losing that one. So that puts them at 3-3. They'll whip Mississippi State 4-3. I don't think anybody's beating Georgia in the East, or what used to be the East. So that's 4-4. Then I've got them beating Kentucky. That's 5-4. But I think Ole Miss is better, and it's in Ole Miss. So I've got 5-5 there. I don't like Tennessee's chances in the swamp with Lagway, but I think they'll beat Florida State. So that's 6-6. Or I'm sorry, 7-5. I was trying to convince myself 6-6, but it's 7-5. But if DJ Lagway gets hurt at any time during this season, 3-7, 2-10. I mean, there's nothing after him.
Yeah, I totally agree. If Lagway gets injured, the whole outlook for the season changes dramatically. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So I've got him at 7-5.
Unfortunately, it pains me to say this, but if Lagway is healthy, it's going to be very difficult to beat Florida this year. And I hate to say that because I cannot stand the Gators. But they're going to be good. When Lagway's healthy, they're going to be good. That's sadly the reality of it. Now, I will say this. If you're correct, and they're 4-4 going to Kentucky, if Kentucky beats them, that might be it for Napier.
Yeah, he's done.
I mean, like that. Because if they lose to Kentucky and then they lose at Ole Miss, like you had predicted, if you add in a potential loss at Kentucky, they'd be 4-6. It's done. Like he would not make it past that week. So here's what I got for them. I'm right with you through the first half of the season. I think they're going to beat Long Island. I don't even know somebody can let us know in the comments what Long Island's mascot is. I don't even know what their mascot is. But whatever, they're fighting whatevers, they're going to beat them for sure. I think they beat South Florida in a game closer than the experts think. But I do think they win. I think they lose at LSU. I think they beat Miami. I think they lose at Texas, but I do think they beat Texas A&M. And then I think they beat Mississippi State. They lose against Georgia. They beat Kentucky. I think they do go to Ole Miss and beat Ole Miss because they shouldn't. But Lane always has a game or two every year where you're like, why'd they lose that? So I think they go to Ole Miss and beat Ole Miss. I think they beat Tennessee because, as we saw last year in the fourth quarter, when DJ Lagway started getting comfortable, Tennessee couldn't contain him. He was picking us apart. And that was one of the best defenses we've had, arguably, since 2012. So, or no, I'm not 2012. That was the opposite year. That's when we had a great offense and a terrible defense. So that was one of the best defenses we had probably since 2015. And he was picking us apart. I do not like that. The only redeeming thing I think that we can, look to in that game is that'll be their fourth game in a row after having to play Georgia, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. Kentucky's going to be terrible, but at least they're going to be physical. And so the only benefit for us, thank you, Tony. They're the Long Island Sharks. So there we go. The Sharks of Long Island. Like said, their mascot's name is Finley. There you go. How about that? That's what I'm talking about. Long Island, Finley the Shark. That's what I'm talking about. So I do think they beat Florida State at the end. So I have them going 9-3. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm very wrong. But I got them going 9-3.